The sun hung low in the sky as the five of them set out, casting elongated shadows against the towering pines of the Rocky Mountains. Anna adjusted her backpack straps, her fingers trembling ever so slightly. She prided herself on being prepared, the meticulous planner of the group, but there was an unease she couldn't shake. Beside her, Mark led the way with confident strides, his compass swinging from his neck. His outward bravado hid the knots twisting in his stomach. This trip was his chance to prove himself, to escape the shadow of his older brother's legacy as an adventurer. Lisa trailed behind, her city boots crunching on the gravel. Every rustle made her flinch, but she was determined to conquer her fear of the wild, to break free from the claustrophobic city life. Tom brought up the rear, cracking jokes that fell flat, his laughter a little too loud. He masked his anxiety with humor, hoping no one noticed how tightly he gripped his walking stick. Leading them all was Jack, the seasoned guide whose weathered face and silent demeanor spoke volumes. There was a heaviness in his gaze, a flicker of something unspoken when he glanced at the tree line. As dusk painted the sky with hues of crimson and violet, the forest seemed to close in around them. The air grew thick with the scent of pine and damp earth. The group settled in a clearing next to a babbling brook, setting up camp under Jack's watchful eye. The fire crackled to life, casting dancing shadows that played tricks on their eyes. "These mountains have stories," Jack murmured, staring into the flames. His voice was barely above a whisper, yet it drew the group's attention. "Some say there's a bear out here, one that's no ordinary beast." Lisa hugged her knees to her chest. "Come on, Jack, you're not trying to scare us, are you?" He met her gaze with a solemn intensity. "Just respect the land, and maybe it'll respect you back." Night enveloped them in a cloak of darkness. The distant hoot of an owl was the only sound until a low growl rumbled through the silence. Anna's eyes snapped open. She held her breath, listening. Again, the growl, closer this time. She nudged Mark awake. "Did you hear that?" He strained his ears, but only the rustle of leaves answered. "It's just the wind," he assured her, though his voice wavered. Sleep eluded them as every snap of a twig, every whisper of wind became a potential threat. Morning couldn't come fast enough. The next day, tension hung over the group like a storm cloud. They found claw marks etched into the trees surrounding their camp, and large tracks pressed into the soft earth. "Must be a big one," Tom joked nervously. Jack studied the marks with a grim expression. "We should move. Now." As they hiked deeper into the forest, the sense of being watched became palpable. Shadows seemed to shift at the corner of their eyes. Lisa stumbled over a root and let out a yelp. "This place is getting to me," she admitted, her voice shaking. Anna placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We're all on edge, let's just keep moving." By the time they set up camp again, exhaustion had settled into their bones. That night, the growling returned, louder and more menacing. A scream tore through the night. Tom's tent was empty, his belongings strewn about. Panic erupted. "We have to find him," Anna insisted. But Jack blocked her path. "It's too dangerous. We stick together." Mark's facade cracked. "This is your fault," he snarled at Jack. "You knew something was out here." Jack's eyes hardened. "I tried to warn you." Desperation clawed at them as they huddled close, weapons drawn. Just before dawn, a massive silhouette loomed at the edge of the firelight, eyes like embers, fur matted with what looked disturbingly like blood. The bear towered over them, a monstrous embodiment of primal fury. It let out a roar that shook the very ground. Lisa froze, paralyzed by terror. Mark grabbed her arm, pulling her back as the bear swiped at the air between them. Jack stepped forward, an unfamiliar determination in his eyes. "Stay behind me," he ordered. He began to chant in a language none of them recognized, his voice steady and commanding. The bear hesitated, its gaze locked onto Jack. The creature snarled but didn't advance. Jack glanced back at the group, his expression pained. "I've been running from this for too long," he confessed. "It's not just a bear, it's a spirit, one that feeds on fear." Anna's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" He took a deep breath. "I came here years ago, disturbed something that should have been left alone. It's been hunting me ever since, and now it's found me." The ground trembled as the bear reared up. "Go," Jack shouted. "I can hold it off." Mark grabbed Anna and Lisa, dragging them away despite their protests. They ran until their lungs burned, the sounds of Jack's chants and the bear's roars fading behind them. Breaking through the tree line, they stumbled onto a ranger station. Gasping for breath, they tried to explain, but their story was met with skepticism. A search party was formed, but no trace of Jack or Tom was ever found. Weeks later, as Anna packed away her hiking gear, she found a small wooden carving of a bear in her backpack, something she hadn't packed herself. Etched on its base was a single word: courage. She shuddered, a chill running down her spine. Years passed, but the nightmares didn't fade. Each of them carried the weight of that fateful trip, haunted by the unanswered questions. Was Jack consumed by the spirit he sought to appease? Did Tom succumb to the darkness of the forest? One day, Anna received an unmarked envelope containing a photo of a remote cabin deep in the woods and a note: "It's still out there. Fear is its prey." Determination overcame her dread. She knew what she had to do. Gathering her gear, she set out once more toward the Rocky Mountains, not to escape her fear, but to face it head-on.